Howdy! Welcome to the third annual Columbia Food and Wine Festival. I'm Mike Wine Guy, a local wine lover and also somebody who has a little podcast called Ride Between the Wines. Check me out. Obviously this year's festival is going to be a little bit different. We're not able to quite come and talk about the wines quite the same way, but I wanted to give you a little heads up about at least one of the wines you're going to be drinking tonight. So I attached this little video. Please check it out. Otherwise, have an amazing time tonight, and if there's anything that you love, please fill it out on that sheet. Be sure to give the sheet to a server so that you can grab your wines from the gourmet shop next week. Here goes. All right, Klinker Brick Albariño. So first of all, Klinker Brick, small family-owned winery out of Lodi. We'll talk more about that later, but it's in California. And second, Albariño, which is traditionally, we think of as a white grape, very crisp, wonderful with all sorts of food and also with the South Carolina heat. So I think you're going to love that anyways. One interesting thing they do with the Albariño here is that they hand harvest it in two different times. So one's earlier in the season before the grapes are fully ripened. So you get that crisp acid, which you're probably feeling mouth-watering right now. And then the rest of it they harvest later in the season when the fruit's a little bit more ripe. So what you're getting is a mixture of very crisp, delicious notes with some more ripe fruit and also with a little bit more of a mouthfeel. So it's wonderful. In my podcast, early stages, I was only audio. So I did get to meet Renee Roscoe with Klinker Brick, and we did a small podcast so you can learn more about that. But it was only in audio. So I stole little excerpts, and I'm going to put them here so you can listen to if you want to hear a little bit more about Klinker Brick. Otherwise, enjoy. Hello, this is Mike the Wine Guy for the next installment of Ride Between the Wines. And today with me I have the wonderful Renee Roscoe from Klinker Brick Winery in Lodi. Say hello, Renee.
Hello, podcast world.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. It's been great so far. It's a lovely day. I feel that we should mention it's like 82 degrees outside, sunny in all directions.
This is a day that I want to be drinking Lodi Albariño.
I would like some Lodi. In fact, I have been drinking Lodi Albariño. Hopefully my boss isn't listening. Well, I think the story of Klinker Brick is really one tied to the story of Lodi. And I think it's a fun and compelling story. If you like history, the Feltons, Steve and Lori, to be exact, started the winery, Klinker Brick, in 2000. But their family has been growing grapes for wine production in Lodi since the 1890s. So really one of the first farming families of the region. Before that, it was watermelons, which I always think is interesting. And the story of Lodi has really been one of commercial farming for since its inception. It was watermelons and it was grapes, and you know, it's kind of the top of the Central Valley, which is the salad bowl of America. It's very warm during the day. It gets very cool at night. And so Klinker Brick was founded because in the 2000s, there wasn't a lot of quality wine being made from the region. And so if you're growing grapes and people are making bad wine from your grapes and nobody's paying you a lot of money for that grape. Mm-hmm. And if you can say, hey, look, what you can do, and I'm going to do it, then you can be much more successful at farming expensive grapes. And so we started out making Zinfandel. We have a lot of Zinfandel on our property. Our average age of the vine is 87 years, so a lot of this stuff was planted. Crazy. Yeah, it's really old. It was planted a long time ago, and our fruit quality is really high. And so started making Zinfandel, then we dipped our toe into the realm of Syrah, just because we're gluttons for punishment, and we don't, like to make anything that people like to actually drink and buy, like let's stay away from that Chardonnay. So now we have, we actually make almost 22 different SKUs at the winery.
Wow.
Klinker Brick is a very interesting term, and people are often not familiar with what it means, but Klinker Brick is actually a type of historical brick. When you look at them, look at old brick buildings and you see those dark blackened bricks, that is a Klinker Brick. It is a Dutch term, and the Felton family, they originated in Denmark, came over from German-type peoples, and that's where those Klinker Bricks first coined the phrase. But what happens basically during the old kiln fire process of brick making, which we don't do anymore, is the temperature of the bricks heats up over 1850 degrees. That's the name of our red blend. We love a theme.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and the metals within the clay actually begin to fuse, and it makes the brick very dense and very dark. And then on the outside, it almost gets this sort of like ceramic blackened patina. So it's also very pretty, but they make a distinctive clinking noise. And so the people who were making bricks in the day, they were not considered very posh. They were considered sort of byproducts or throwaway bricks. And so it was easy to buy them very cheaply. Lodi traditionally has been a very poor farming community, and people were going to buy the cheapest bricks they could to make their house. They're sturdy, but they weren't posh for San Francisco type people. So you see a lot of clinker bricks in the architecture of Lodi, and Steve and Lori have a family farmhouse that was built in the early 1900s. It's made out of a lot of clinker bricks, and then there's the tie to the Dutch. But I think the sort of poetic tie-in to clinker brick is that these bricks that were once seen as byproducts or throwaways or sort of second-rate bricks are actually now highly prized, very artisanal. As the phoenix rises from the ashes, we now like to think of the wines of Lodi, which were once sort of sold off as bulk juice, being highly prized and artisanal and now used for a higher artistic purpose.
I haven't heard that. I love that. That's
it is
great.
the feel-good moment.